This is CBC Vancouver News.
Chaos in Tsawwassen on Halloween night as a teenage mob sets off illegal fireworks, leading to injuries and arrests.
These are the people that committed what we believe or feel are the most dangerous acts.
Wanted, Vancouver police identify its top 10 suspects from a music festival riot at the PNE Fairgrounds. And
I'm delighted that they are going to get more complicated issues.
patients and doctors are pleased with BC's new funding model for family physicians, why it could finally mean better access to health care. Good evening, I'm Leanne Young. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight in Tsawwassen, where a teenage mob descended into chaos on Halloween night. Delta police are now looking for more videos and photos to identify the suspects from the mayhem.
That kid there's got one.
As many as 400 young people gathered at South Delta Secondary School and nearby Denison Park last night. Over the span of 4 hours, police say the crowd set off illegally obtained fireworks, sometimes even deliberately at first responders and bystanders. Several people were injured, including a young woman who suffered serious burns, and 2 Delta police officers were also hurt. Firefighters put out dumpster and bush fires. The school's sprinkler system was also damaged.
More disturbing than the presence of the fireworks was how they were being used. The fireworks were being used to shoot between groups of people and at people, so essentially being used as a weapon.
Police say several arrests were made, but the individuals were released due to a lack of resources on site. They are now asking the public for more video evidence like this as they investigate property damage, mischief, and assaults. To another mob scene. More than a month after crowds rioted at a music festival at the PNE, Vancouver police are asking for your help to identify a top 10 list of suspects. And as John Hernandez reports, more photos could be coming.
We're asking people to identify suspects and to hold them accountable.
It's far from a prestigious top 10 list. These are the suspects Vancouver police are trying to track down for their role in September's PNE riot.
These are the people that committed the most, what we believe or feel are the most dangerous acts, so putting other concert goers at risk.
The chaos erupted when rapper Lil Baby canceled his show at the PNE amphitheater just minutes before he was set to go on stage. Videos from the scene show people tearing down tents, throwing garbage cans, and swarming the venue's beer garden. Police say there was roughly $300,000 in property damage.
This action carried out outside of the PNE grounds, into the nearby neighborhood where we had fights and similar things like that.
7 people were arrested that night, and now a public plea to help find these 10.
We believe that these people will be known. They'll be neighbors, they'll be classmates, friends, ex-friends, ex-boyfriends and whatnot.
An investigation tactic that's become increasingly common in this city.
It's increasing in frequency. I think we could say that the Vancouver Police Department has learned from this process in the past.
VPD sifted through hundreds of hours of footage during the 2011 Stanley Cup riots and took nearly 5 years before charges were laid. Experts say authenticating footage takes time.
It slows down police work. It slows down the investigation process because authorities need to make sure that what it is they see in the video is actually what it is they are claiming is in the video.
For now, police say most of these suspects will likely face mischief charges, with more photos to be released in the coming weeks. Those with information can remain anonymous. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
The regimental funeral for Burnaby RCMP Constable Yang will be held tomorrow at Richmond's Olympic Oval. And organizers say they expect law enforcement from across Canada and even across the border to be in attendance.
Shaylin has her immediate family. They feel very supported. But we always say that, in police work, it's not just what your immediate family, blood family. You're also part of the larger family, which is the RCMP family in this sense.
Constable Yang was killed in the line of duty. She was attending to a call about a man in a tent in Burnaby's Broadview Park when she was fatally stabbed. More than 1,000 people are expected to march in the procession tomorrow. CBC will be live streaming the event starting at 9:30 in the morning. You can catch that special coverage on our website, cbc.ca/BC, or on the CBC GEM app. Well, patients and physicians alike are feeling optimistic about the province's new payment model for family doctors. The plan, which was announced yesterday, is meant to attract and keep more GPs in BC. And as Janella Hamilton reports, with more than 1 million British Columbians without a family doctor, this is a major step towards closing that gap.
Andrea Bolinelli is happy to hear more British Columbians may soon have better access to a family doctor.
It's always hard because I have an older son that he was having some issues this past month, and I have to run with him to the hospital instead to the walk-in clinic because there is no one available to get him in.
Dr. Renee Fernandez says the province's new funding plan will go towards what's called longitudinal care, giving patients long-term care with the same doctor.
We know that having a family doctor that knows not only your medical health, but the circumstances of your life has been shown to have better health outcomes for patients, lower costs for the system.
If family doctors choose the new system, starting in February, they will be paid based on the number of patients they see in a day, the time spent with each, and the complexity of the patient's issues. Right now, they earn $30 to $40 a visit, regardless of the patient's needs.
I'm delighted that they are going to get more for more complicated issues.
Hi, it's Dr. Fernandez.
Out of 6,800 family doctors in BC, Fernandez says less than half of them are able to provide it under the current system.
If someone comes in to see me and I have to tell them that they have a life-changing diagnosis, I'm not rushing them through in 10 or 15 minutes. But that means that I'm running behind and I'm actually not making enough to keep that clinic afloat as a result of it. But now they won't have to do that anymore.
It's really a monumental shift. Acknowledging that primary care is important.
Another change is how patients will be matched up with doctors through a rostering system.
To physicians who are geographically close to them, perhaps speak the same language as them, or perhaps are a particular gender if there is as an example, if a woman wants to see a female physician.
People need their family doctor. I mean, we all look back at a time when that relationship was sacred. And now we're in a place where we can rebuild that.
Fernandez adds it will allow family doctors to hire more staff, handle rising costs, and hopefully entice more physicians to practice family medicine. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
And to Victoria now, where an all-party report into BC's toxic drug crisis is being criticized over its lack of new ideas. The report, written by the legislature's Select Standing Committee on Health, has 37 recommendations. Among them, more funding for expanded public awareness and anti-stigma initiatives, urgently ensuring standardized harm reduction services are available BC-wide, and working with Ottawa to measure and evaluate the effectiveness of decriminalization. One MLA who helped draft the report says many of its recommendations have been repeated since the poison drug crisis was declared a public health emergency 6 years ago.
The report and the recommendations reflect where we were able to come to consensus in terms of those recommendations and moving forward. It doesn't reflect where each of us specifically stood on every issue.
Firstenau says she supports the expansion of regulated safe supply to try to save more lives. Advocates also say more efforts need to be made to reach young drug users.
That large group that we're seeing, the 19 to 29-year-olds, they were using when they were youth. So if we're going to affect the trajectory of that young adulthood or that adulthood, we have to start working at the younger age.
Illicit drug toxicity remains the leading cause of unnatural death in BC. Almost 1,500 people were killed in the first 8 months of this year alone. That is more than 3 times the number of people killed throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And some sizable savings are on the way for young families in BC. The province is adding more spaces to the $10 a day daycare program. Nearly 1,400 more childcare spaces are being converted to the Childcare BC program by the end of the year. The spaces will add up to thousands of dollars in savings a year for families who take part. Spaces in the program reduce the average cost of childcare from $1,000 a month for full-time infant care to $200 a month. The new spaces are being offered at childcare centres across BC, bringing the total number of $10 a day spaces to nearly 8,200. Well, despite the recent rain, the Sunshine Coast remains under a local state of emergency. The risk of their water supply running dry is still a concern. But the region has cautiously lifted some water restrictions, allowing businesses like breweries and non-medical cannabis producers to use large volumes of water. It comes as an atmospheric river is slated to bring up to 50 millimeters of rain on Thursday. Meanwhile, Stage 4 water conservation regulations are still in place, and officials are asking the community to watch their water use.
The soil is extremely dry, and it's really hard for rain to actually infiltrate into the ground, and so the water is just running off, and so it doesn't provide us with good amount of storage of water in the soil, so that we can that it can be released over the weeks and months to come.
Drought risk remains high in other parts of the province, like the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island, and parts of the interior and northern BC. Well, with all this precipitation, it's a good day for winter sport enthusiasts. Snow has begun to fall on the coast mountains. The first dusting for Cypress Mountain came a week ago. The resort opens for skiing and snowboarding in 2 weeks, and Whistler Blackcomb starts its season on November 24th. But it isn't too early to pull your gear out of storage. Calgary was already under a snow warning today.
Me right here, and then and touching me.
Up next, the moment he made that 911 call. We have the details from day 2 of Doug McCallum's Mischief trial. Stay tuned. And thank you for joining us on our commercial-free live stream. A group of grade 10 science students from Regina are taking the classroom outside. They've partnered with Ducks Unlimited to be stewards of a conservation park, which was recently named a Wetland Center of Excellence. Take a look.
So the Wetland Centers of Excellence, it's a network of national partners, so a mix of school, community partners, and Ducks Unlimited. And our goal is to engage and empower high school students to become stewards of their local wetlands. And it's up to them to decide on which conservation project that speaks to them.
Guys, what is it? It's a midge larva. It's a midge larva.
It can range from water quality testing. It can be setting up a social media awareness campaign about wetlands importance.
It's a great way for us to learn out of the classroom because we spend a lot of time in there and it can get really boring at times. So this is a great new experience and a way to get us into nature. It's very healthy.
So Emily, what you're going to do is you're going to collect a water sample using this vial. And you want to collect to 25 milliliters as close as you can. By getting to a site like this, they kind of feel a responsibility for maintaining it. They become advocates for the environment, not just necessarily this wetland, but also other areas around the city and the province, and might lead them into some interest into other careers within environmental science. And it's a very broad field, so there's lots of opportunities for the students once they're done high school.
Science has always been sort of a part of my life. I was really into dinosaurs as a kid, to an obsession. And so, yeah, I've always been more sort of scientifically minded, but I'm just really happy that sort of as a school we're taking this initiative. At the end of the day, if you're going to actually go out and experience what you're doing, everybody, without exception, is going to be able to absorb that information and come away from it feeling impacted and genuinely care about what they were learning about, significantly more than just memorizing text in a classroom. I just hope that people are going to learn to actually care about the environment, just less throwing wrappers over the shoulder, sort of thinking about your actions, actually understanding. I really hope that this is going to impact them.
Welcome back. Outgoing Surrey Mayor Doug McCallum's 911 call was shared in court today as part of his public mischief trial. McCallum is accused of making false allegations against a political rival after he was injured last September. Our Michelle Ghoussoub was in court.
At the center of this case, the question of whether outgoing Surrey Mayor Doug McCallum intentionally misled police by telling them Debbie Johnstone ran over his foot on purpose. And today, for the first time, we heard a 9-minute 911 call that McCallum made after the now infamous incident. Also released a 50-minute video of McCallum's police interview, where he described the alleged incident in the parking lot and details his past relationship with Johnstone, who he says repeatedly harassed him and his fellow councillors.
And pinned me right here, and then and touching me, and then just screaming blue murder, and then she turned this way, and that's where she ran over. Like it looked like she purposely wanted to. Just clip me or something, but I want you to investigate it. This is quite serious to me. This is the first time that I feel that I was picked out and targeted and so forth. And you know, I've been around long enough that this is just about a hit and run, to be honest. And you know, it's certainly harassment.
The video also shows police examining McCallum's foot. He says 7 x-rays revealed damage to the soft tissue. Now, earlier in the day, we heard from Sergeant Andre Johnny, who headed the team investigating McCallum's complaint. Under examination from McCallum's lawyer, he said investigators were told to stay unbiased and to sign non-disclosure agreements. He testified that he didn't consult doctors on the severity of McCallum's injuries. He also testified officers considered doing a surveillance operation on McCallum and considered surreptitiously gaining access to his phone, despite McCallum fully cooperating with the police investigation. The trial is scheduled for at least a week. It's still unknown whether McCallum himself will be taking the stand. Michelle Ghoussoub, CBC News, Surrey.
BC's public safety minister says he is open to the idea of extending liquor serving hours for the championship match of the Men's World Cup on December 18th. Officials in BC's restaurant and food industry say the change would be important to fans.
We're going to ask them if they would consider opening the licenses to 7 a.m. on December 18th. That's the World Cup final. And we're saying, you know what, just World Cup final, you never know who's going to be in there. It could be Italy against whoever. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to celebrate that one.
The province will allow bars and restaurants to extend their hours from November 20th to December 18th to accommodate the 10-hour time difference between BC and the World Cup host nation, Qatar. But as of now, establishments cannot serve alcohol any longer than they usually do. The City of Vancouver is looking to impose a new tax on short-term accommodations in order to help raise money for hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The proposed tax would see rooms and hotels and short-term accommodations subject to an extra 2.5% tax in order to help fund FIFA-related costs, such as extra staff, security, resourcing, and more. The city declined an interview with CBC News, but writes that it will have to run, quote, above and beyond normal operating city service levels for the World Cup. The proposed tax is not yet in effect, but it has been introduced to the legislature and will be carried to a second reading. Canadian basketball star Steve Nash's time as an NBA head coach is over. He and the Brooklyn Nets announced today they are parting ways. Nash, who grew up in Victoria, thanked the owners and management of the Nets for the opportunity to coach in the league. He called it an amazing experience. The Nets management thanked him for his leadership during his 2-year tenure, but the team has struggled with a disappointing 2-5 start and controversy with star Kyrie Irving. As a player, Nash spent 18 seasons in the NBA, where he was an 8-time All-Star and 2-time MVP. You're looking at a live shot of Cambie Street and City Hall on a cool night and damp out there as well. Johanna will be here with your full forecast coming up after the break. Stay with us.
And another small movie opening this weekend. You may have heard of it. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed. Or worse, expelled.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
It's the tale of Harry, a young wizard who's orphaned at birth, raised by some nasty relatives, and then taken away at age 11 to the mysterious and magical Hogwarts School of Wizardry. The movie is based on the book by J.K. Rowling. She's written 4 Harry Potter books so far, all of them worldwide bestsellers. And if this movie does well, not much doubt there, more movies will follow. And it won't stop at that. The CBC's Sudha Krishna has more on the marketing of Pottermania.
There's the movie, and then there's the merchandise. As Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone rolls into theaters, the merchandise is already in the hands of young consumers. The movie is a potential blockbuster. Retailers are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping for a hit and filling their shelves with all things Potter.
At this point, we're almost ordering as much as we can. I know a lot of products such as Lego, they're selling out, and they've sold out of some of their biggest pieces already. So we're trying to get as much as we can at this point.
But a box office hit doesn't guarantee merchandise sales. For example, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, made over $900 million worldwide. But its merchandise, particularly this character, Jar Jar Binks, flopped.
Yeah. I don't think it had the following that they thought it would. It didn't inspire a lot of people to buy product the way they thought it was going to, and there was a lot of overproduction of product.
Plus, these Vancouver kids are suspicious of all the marketing of merchandise. They say it's one thing to read the books or see the movie, but
I think it's too much hype. It's like, it's taken away from the classicness of the book.
to make sure Harry Potter merchandise is a hit, owners AOL Time Warner have adopted a less is more strategy. Basically, that means they aren't flooding the market with Potter product, hoping that scarcity will increase demand. If the movie and merchandise are a hit, analysts say AOL Time Warner could easily make $700 million from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Don't know, so.
Sudha Krishna, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Celebrate Chinese-Canadian music and entertainment at the Jade Music Festival, November 28th to December 3rd. View the schedule at jmfa.ca. And on December 7th, join Anita Bath and a panel of Indigenous business leaders at the Surrey Board of Trade's online Entrepreneur Showcase. Register for the free discussion today at businessinsurrey.com.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace, installing the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Johanna Wagstaff joins us now with a look at your weather forecast. Joe, it is starting to feel pretty cold out there. Then I was reminded we are in November.
Yes, it was such a rapid shift from our summer weather that 9-degree highs is pretty cold. Like all of a sudden, get the toque and maybe even gloves out.
Yeah.
And we are getting a bit cooler in the long range forecast. If you pulled them out, keep them out. The next thing we have to contend with, though, is a break between systems. Let me show you what things look like on the satellite and radar. We were sort of in between those Pacific systems today, but unsettled weather, you can see, still tracking in from the west, and that is courtesy of that open door, letting a little upper level low swirl around our neck of the woods. Wanted to show you the warnings in place across the East Kootenays. Cranbrook getting 10 centimeters of snow through tonight into Wednesday. That's on the tail end of a system, as you can see, hitting Alberta hard, 30 centimeters for the foothills. Calgary waking up to 20 centimeters. Not snow, not rain, but something we did see here today in Metro Vancouver, grapple. And we don't use that weather term that often. It's not hail, it's not ice pellets, not snow or rain. It's when flakes fall through the air and get a coating of ice on them, but they're very unstable. So if you see them on the ground, they sort of look like sort of little snow piles together. So that is grapple, and we do get them quite often in Vancouver when we have colder air over warmer air, and that was our setup today. Now, things are going to become more stable tomorrow, less of a chance of the grapple. Look at those afternoon highs, though, across the province, just 3 and through places like Princeton, I should say, early morning temperatures. We will be getting sub-zero, though, in the interior. We've got a few more systems to enter into the West Coast in the days to come. We'll really be watching Thursday, Friday. That one may come with rainfall warnings. And then Sunday onward, it is showers after showers. So we'll enjoy the break tomorrow, Leanne, because we are heading into November like we exited October, wet.
Right, wet, cold, and possibly more grapple in future.
Yes, so remember that one, grapple.
Word of the day. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, you're welcome.
Well, it's been a holiday favorite from years past, but the Santa Claus parade in downtown Vancouver has been canceled for a 3rd straight year. But this time, the pandemic isn't to blame.
Merry Christmas!
The Vancouver Santa Claus Parade Society says it wasn't able to secure a sponsor in time for the event, usually held at the start of December. In the past, the parade has featured performances from bands and dance troupes, as well as an appearance from Santa himself and his elves. But there is hope for next year. The Society is asking potential sponsors for the 2023 parade to get in touch now. And speaking of Christmas, is it too early to start putting up your Christmas lights? Our intern, Asha Pandikanan, took to the streets to find out what people think. And as you'll hear, there is plenty of opinion.
After Remembrance Day.
After Remembrance Day, why so?
Give the veterans a respect and then celebrate after.
Well, back home we start like June, July. But here, I would say December.
Why December?
Because that's the time you feel the Christmas.
Okay. Is it too soon right now?
No, never too soon for me.
Okay.
Well, it's November. December is Christmas.
End of October, early November, at the earliest. But as long as people don't start playing the music before Remembrance Day.
November 1st.
Oh yeah?
Yes,
Today?
yes, today. I don't know, it's a joke. Like, everyone laughs about Halloween, and then like November 1st, it's like Christmas for the rest of the next 2 months.
Well, after Remembrance Day, because I think we're still paying attention to all the men and women that died for us in wars, and there are wars going on now in Ukraine, and I think, because I think if it's now, it's just about making money, and that's not what Christmas is for me. Okay.
That's a good point. It's not about, all that corporate stuff. We do have Remembrance Day on the way. And then after that, Mariah Carey, Michael Bublé, they all come to life. All right, that is it for us this Tuesday night. Thank you for joining us. For news anytime, visit our website, cbc.ca/BC. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m., our regimental funeral special coverage of Constable Yang Yang's funeral starts at 9:30. We'll see you then.